Let's get rowdy.
Hey guys, I'm going to welcome you back to the Rob Griffin Show, a podcast where truth will live, where none of that crazy shit you see on the mainstream media will live here. And I want to apologize immediately for my shiny face and my bad lighting. It is 11 p.m. where I live here in Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. And I wanted to bring you an episode before I went to bed because this is something that's really kind of heavy on my heart, man. I went to see a movie recently that highlighted the sex trafficking industry that happens here in the United States of America. And sadly, the U.S. is the number one destination for children being sex trafficked around the world, and because of demand, right? We learned when we were young kids in school, supply and demand. Well, sadly, folks, the demand is here, and that's embarrassing for me as an American to tell you that story because it really just breaks my heart. Now, the mainstream media will tell you that this is a bunch of hooey. That this movie, there's a movie we're going to talk about here called The Sound of Freedom. It is QAnon propaganda. You may not know what QAnon is, but it's a right-wing extremist group that's out there. You know, they're saying that this is the reason why we're talking about child trafficking here in the United States of America because of this whole QAnon thing and the QAnon shaman that showed up in the White House on January 6th. And I'm going to tell you that's a whole bunch of BS because you're talking to, listening to a retired vice detective that worked in a little town called Las Vegas, Nevada, Henderson, Nevada. I worked and dealt with the sex industry, folks. I was a detective. I was a vice detective. If you don't know what vice means, we would investigate crimes. How can I say this? Of sexual nature, right? We hit with pimps and prostitution and pandering and all that stuff. And very commonly, we would run into victims. I say victims. They were actually suspects at the time, but AKA victims because they were being trafficked. That were underage. They were children, man. And I'm going to tell you, man, the movie says it, and I'm going to say it right here. God's children are not for sale. Write it down. Anyway, so I was working in this industry, and I did that for many, many years, but I'd kind of escaped from that world for a little while. I became I'm working in a totally different industry. Then recently I went to go see that movie, the movie called Sound of Freedom. If you haven't seen it yet, you need to go see it. It's a true story about a young man named Tim Ballard. That's him there in the middle. He worked for the Department of Homeland Security, and he was arresting a whole bunch of guys that were there to victimize children. The young man standing next to him on the left there, that's Jim Caviezel. He was actually in The Passion of the Christ. He's the actor that is portraying Mr. Tim Ballard in this movie. And they are telling the story about how he was a DHS agent that was working in child trafficking, and he was catching these predators. Many of you might remember this TV show. I used to love watching this TV show. It was called To Catch a Predator by the name of Chris Hansen, and he would set up these stings. He would work with a local police department, and they would bring these scumbags in, and he would walk into the house right in the middle of them showing up to abuse this child. And I love it because most of these idiots, they don't realize, man, that by the time they showed up, they've been chatting for hours with an undercover detective. We actually did a catch a predator sting with Henderson, Nevada, my PD. I remember sitting outside. Gosh, what was it? It was like a Safeway or Albertsons or something like that. I'm sitting in my car undercover in the parking lot waiting for this scumbag shithead to show up. And we had a young female officer that was, she was small. And they dressed her up in a little baseball cap and a backpack, and they put her out in front of Albertsons. And the whole premise that she was texting this criminal was that she was escaping from grandma's house, and she was going to meet him out in front of Albertsons and to exchange, sexual favors with one another. Now, this guy showed up, a grown-ass man, showed up to meet with a 13 or 14-year-old boy or girl. We did many different stings of both sexes. If you're thinking, well, it's only for women. No, it's not. They target girls. They target boys. These scumbags know no limits. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I have placed handcuffs on pastors. We actually did a search warrant at a Clark County firehouse because we arrested a fireman that showed up to solicit sex from a juvenile. I'm just telling you, man, it's disgusting stuff. And I'm going to tell you wholeheartedly, you may be thinking, well, that only happens in big cities. It doesn't happen near me. I'm going to tell you right now, sure as I'm sitting here, it's happening in your city. If you live in any city of any type of population whatsoever, I can almost guarantee you that there is some type of house of ill repute in your jurisdiction or in your neighborhood. And if it's not in a business, it could be happening in your neighbor's house. We've seen these houses set up in neighborhoods and residential areas, and they're running girls or boys through these houses, and these scumbags just show up to victimize these children. And it really just breaks my heart. So if you haven't seen Sound of Freedom yet, I want you to go see it. It's in your local theater now. It is outpacing many of the big blockbuster movies that they thought was going to win, and they are losing. So one of the cool stories I'm going to talk to you today is about how we literally stumbled upon an accidental ring where they were victimizing females and underage people as well. So when I was a young vice detective, so I started with the Henderson Rope Unit. You may not know what ROPE stands for. It stands for the Repeat Offender Program. I made detective in 2003. In 2005, they made me the lead detective of the Rope Unit Repeat Offender Program. We would target habitual felons, which also meant we wore many hats. We wore vice hats, we wore narcotics hats. We would target the individual and then work the crime associated with that person, okay? But as a result of this, I got thrown into multiple vice operations. So if you've never done this before, I'm sure you haven't, right? Because you're listening to this podcast, you're thinking, what the heck is Rob talking about? So a vice detective, we work pimping, pandering, prostitution, all types of sex crimes. And what they would do, they would have UCs or undercovers that would go set up in a suite or go into a massage parlor or what have you. And I was the John or the customer that would show up and play a role to be the customer of said call girl, prostitute, sex worker, whatever you want to call it, right? And then during this interaction, we would broker an act for a price. We would give a bust out signal, and then the cops would come in. They would arrest whoever the person was there in the room with us, and we would do it all over again. It's crazy, man. It was not uncommon for us to make 8 or 9, 10 arrests a night. So one time we went and did an operation with Las Vegas Metro. That's Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, one of the premier agencies in the United States of America. And I had the luxury of working with some amazing detectives there. These guys are phenomenal, okay? And we did our first sting in a little hotel called the MGM Grand. Now, I'm not here to cast any shadow against the MGM Grand. It is a fantastic hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. You should certainly go stay there. And but unfortunately, every once in a while, they would have a large amount of young sex workers that would show up in the hotel, and they would work the floor. Now, if you've never worked in Vice in Las Vegas, there's typically there's 3 classes, right? You have the people who work the street, and they were what they call them track hoes. That's the street language for it. I would never say that to their face or demean them by calling them that. And then you'd have the carpet girls that would work the floor of the casino, and we arrested many of those. And then you have the high end stuff, right? You ever been to Vegas and you're walking on the strip and you have these little guys with these little cards in their hand? They're trying to click, and they're trying to hand you a little card. You know, they kind of hand you this little thing, and it has a picture of an escort. And many people come to Vegas and they think this stuff is legal. I'm here to tell you right now, it is not. Now, in the city of Las Vegas, city of Henderson, Nevada, city of North Las Vegas, Nevada, it is illegal to participate in that type of stuff. Okay. Now, if you drive an hour north out to Nye County, prostitution is legal out there, and that's where they have all the brothels and all the chicken ranches and all that crazy stuff out there. I have a whole nother story about that, which I'll share on another episode. But anyway, that is where it is legal in Nye County. It's regulated, it's taxed, and I wouldn't recommend it. But hey, if that's your thing, go knock yourself out. You can do it legally out there. But in the city of Las Vegas, Henderson, North Las Vegas, Clark County Major, it is illegal, and you can't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, we did some amazing ride-alongs with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department as we were learning how to build our own vice unit in Henderson. And we did our first sting in the MGM Grand, which I might share that story at a later date. I don't remember laughing this hard ever in my life as I did that evening at the MGM Grand with Las Vegas Metro. And we did a big sting there, which was really awesome. We had several in custody that we arrested several people. And let me tell you this, we're not there to target with and then harass the young ladies or the young people who are working in the sex industry. It's not about that. Now, granted, they are a pawn in this game that we would arrest and try to talk to them and get them to turncoat and prosecute their pimp or their handler or whatever you want to call it. Because in the state of Nevada, when the young lady shows up or the young man shows up or whoever shows up to provide a service, technically that is a misdemeanor in the state of Nevada. But the person who is living off of the proceeds of that person or delivering that person to said appointment, that is a felony. So we would use the pawn to get to the ringleader and arrest them and try to prosecute them. And more often than not, these young ladies, these young people, whoever they are, whatever sex they were literally slaves, man. They were stuck in a situation where they didn't feel clean, they didn't feel wholesome, they were afraid to go home because someone got them into the game, got them dirty, got them diseased, got them hooked on dope or what have you, and they were embarrassed to go home. And one thing that really blew my mind, because we think that so often that these young girls or young boys, they would come from broken homes and, bad parenting or what have you. You would be amazed at how often young people coming from good homes and what some would call a wholesome home, they escape. Maybe they're rebels and they run away, but then they get dirty, disease, drug addict, what have you. And now they're ashamed to go home. And I remember arresting some of these girls. And I'm like, my God, but like you could be a freaking supermodel. They were beautiful or very attractive and they were smart. And like, why are you doing this? And the one common denominator that I would always hear is just the money. They were there for the money, or they were there because they loved their boyfriend, aka pimp, or they felt like they were too embarrassed to go home and run home because they had a disease or their parents would never take them back in. And it just broke my heart, man. And it was just sad. Okay, so we did a big operation at the MGM. Shortly thereafter, we moved over to Planet Hollywood. Again, I'm not trying to cast shade on the Planet Hollywood. It is an awesome resort, awesome casino. You should certainly go there and go visit them. But then we did an operation there. We had several in custodies as well. And if you've ever been to Vegas, especially recently, I can assure you that you've seen some workers walking in the hotel. All you have to go do is sit at the bar, pretend like you're drunk, be a guy, especially if you're middle-aged like me. It won't take long, man. They're going to show up and they're going to be like, hi, are you looking for a date? Or are you looking for, whatever. And if you know how to talk that game, maybe you can play that game. But for you listening right now, I would strongly suggest don't try that, right? As cool as it may sound or as funny as it may sound, it's not cool. It's not funny. I had buddies of mine that were like, hey, Rob, you got the coolest job in the world, man. You get to go into these hotel rooms with these call girls and they show up and they're disrobing and whatever they're doing. No, man. It ain't cool. It ain't fun. Because many of these people, I should say, it's not just girls, it's guys and girls, whatever, right? They have diseases. They carry needles. They're in many cases, you might be their 5th or 6th or 10th date they had that night. Yeah, that's gross. Yeah, that's nasty. But that's just that world, man. It's pretty horrific, So as cool as it might sound, it ain't that cool. Trust me when I tell you it is not that cool. So I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about what happened for me in Henderson, Nevada. Now, I was a Henderson rope detective, but we got a complaint from the Henderson City Council that there was some prostitution / erroneous behavior happening in one of our local massage parlors. Now, if you've never been to a massage parlor, I'm not sure if you've been, that there's a lot of really legitimate massage parlors out there. You're going to go pay your money. You're going to lay on a table and they're going to provide a service for you. They're going to give you a massage, a deep tissue or Swedish or shiatsu or whatever they want to call it, right? Or what's that stuff they do on your foot? I can't remember what that's called. But anyway, there's a lot of really good, wholesome, clean, and awesome massage parlors you can go to help you get over back pain or whatever you're dealing with. But there are a select few in specific cities where you go to, and the massage is simply a ruse. It is a trick to get you in the door and get you there where they can solicit you. Now, I was a UC at this time, or an undercover detective. Me and my other buddy, his name is, I'll give you his initials, RA. You know who you are, buddy. And they asked me and RA to become the UCs in this particular search warrant, or this case we're going to work tonight. Now, we got a complaint from the Henderson City Council that this, I can't give you all the details. There was a complaint at a local place on a little street called Warm Springs in Henderson, Nevada. And we had a detective go out and do the recon. Now, if you don't know what recon is, whenever you're doing a search warrant or any type of big operation, you have to go out and get some details on the building. What does the building look like? What corner is it on? Where is it facing? What are the numbers like? Like there's a number of 1, 2, 3 above the door on the right hand side facing northbound. So you would put the very specific descriptors in the search warrant, so you would be able to detail. When I do hit this place, I would make sure I'm hitting the right location. So I send a detective out to go do our recon. They go down there, they do our recon. We suit up, we do our operation. Now they put a listening device on me. Well, I won't share you how they do it, but just know we had a listening device on me, a listening device on my partner, Mr. RA, that went in this massage parlor as well. And never in my career did I ever think that I would be going into a massage parlor as a police officer and fully disrobing, which is kind of awkward. You go in there, it's really unique. You go in there, they put you on this table. The tables look very similar to this picture right here. You have some of the rooms have twin tables, and you get your massage. A massage often starts out very legit, but very easily, or very quickly, right? I should rather, it would devolve into a solicitation. And they would do that in multiple different ways. They would tease you by touching you with parts of their body they shouldn't touch you with, touching parts of your body they shouldn't touch you. And very quickly, it devolves into, would you like extra? Or would you like some other portion of a service, whether it be, how can I say this, with your hands, with other parts of your body? And they would ask you, do you want this, this, or this? And I would have to play dumb and say, hey, what is that included? Is that come for free? And they would always say no, and they would whisper in your ear, and they'd give you whatever the details were of that conversation, right? And then you would typically either say yes or no. Now, most of the customers that go there for illicit activities, they always say yes. 100%, most of the time, they will say yes. If you say no, that makes them go, oh my God, something is wrong. And so I'm there. I'm on the table. I'm laying down. You've been to a massage parlor, right? I'm laying on this thing. Your head's in a little hole on the table. Things are happening that probably should not happen. They asked me to roll over. More things happen that should not happen. I get that question, do you want to do this for this? And I'm like, I play dumb. And shortly thereafter, I say no. And then, of course, right after that, the person that was servicing me in the room grabs all their stuff and bounces. They run out of the room because they know that most likely this is a police officer that happened to be in their room at that time. Because most of the people who go there don't say no. They're there for a very specific reason, and they're there to accomplish whatever their goal was, right? I say no, thank you, thanks, but no thanks, and I start to leave. And as soon as I do that, I'm giving a signal, which means the takedown team is coming in, right? They're busting in. We're opening up doors, and we're catching people. We're catching people in very compromised positions. If you can only imagine, elderly gentlemen, all types of people in these rooms, in compromising situations. So I'll just leave it with that. I don't want to share all those graphic details, but let your mind work. It's probably worse than you can imagine. Okay. So we're seeing all this, and so we're doing the bust out. We're arresting people. Flex cuffs or handcuffs are coming on. And then what really, really blew my mind, and what makes me really hate and despise this industry, is what happens when you turn the lights on. It's just sad. We're in a little strip mall, and these girls actually live in the business. There's little apartments in the back. There's little, like, I wouldn't even call them apartments. It's almost like closets with beds and a little tiny microwave, or maybe a little coffee maker in their room. And they had one restroom in the back. And the rest of the place is just absolutely ridiculously disgusting. Like piles of towels in the back, probably stacked 5 feet high. You can imagine what's on them. And it's just disgusting. And it wasn't uncommon for us to find people underage, people that they were indentured servants, working off whatever they're working off to whatever person brought them to America. And it broke my heart, man. It really did. It broke my heart to see the type of filth that they live in and the type of job they have to deal with on a daily basis. Like, can you imagine working there and that's all you do every single day? It's heartbreaking. It literally, I couldn't take it. Being a father, being a husband, I can't even imagine someone that I love having to be literally put in a position like that. Just sad. It's disgusting. So I wanted to do this episode today to maybe shine a light on one thing I thought that they missed with that movie, The Sound of Freedom. Fantastic movie. You need to go see it. Stop what you're doing tomorrow. Run to your theater. Support that film because they're really shining a light on something that needs to be shined a light on. Now, the media is going to tell you it's QAnon, it's right-wing conspiracy, it's a bunch of BS. Sex crimes in the United States are very real. I've experienced it myself as a detective. I've seen it firsthand. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's more prevalent than you can ever imagine. I guarantee you that if I went to your city and drove around your town, I could point out place after place after place where it's happening right here, right now in your town. Because in all of the world, United States is the number one destination for this type of stuff. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's very prevalent. And if we don't do something, it's going to continue and it's going to get worse. You know, one of my favorite quotes says, for evil to exist, all they need is for the good man to do nothing, to good people to do nothing. So I'm going to ask you to stand up, man, to go do the right thing, to go be that voice in your neighborhood, to be that voice in your community and say, hey, look, not here, not on my watch is this crap going to happen, because we can't allow that to happen here in the United States of America, the greatest country on planet Earth, because it is happening. It is really sad. But if we do our part and we shine a light on it, then dark can't exist. Like light will always cancel out the dark. So do me a favor, contact your local law enforcement, let them know you support them. Contact your senators, your politicians in your area and let them know, hey, we don't want that crap here. And then get off your rear end and go see this movie, The Sound of Freedom, because they are the one few voices out there that are actually shining a light on this. And I'm going to tell you, man, it's way bigger than you think. The people that are out there that are doing this stuff will blow your mind. Like I said, I've placed handcuffs on pastors and high famous people, right, that were showing up to do this nasty, dirty stuff. And I would ask you to just join the forces with us and be part of the solution and not part of the problem. So thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you listening to this episode. Make sure you like and subscribe. Find us on iTunes or Spotify or anywhere you would find a podcast. If you prefer video, find us on YouTube or Rumble. And until next time, God bless each and every one of you. And we'll catch you on the next one. Take care and have a great night.
I never imagined a love like yours. Through all the endless nights, you were the one I was searching for, looking for the one that was worth it, yeah. And all this time, you were right here by my side. You were right here. Through all the pain and the heartaches, now it's all messed up and I'm walking out, slamming the door. And now I'm riding off into the dark.